We are trying to create a kind of totally normal life that includes everything. We still believe very much that the biggest invention that we did is to make ourselves the object and the speaker. Like we are the vision of Gilbert and George, and we are presenting it through ourselves to the viewer. That's why everything that surrounds us is part of our living sculpture. We always like the idea of a suffering man because we feel we have to suffer for what we do. So that's why we started to collect these heads of suffering people.
People who gave something to the world. It's always very interesting, we think, to look from the Jesus sculpture across to the photographic portrait of Oscar Wilde. One can see many connections in a way.
He looks like a vulnerable person suffering for what he did.
We like very much these Jesus heads because they're so inexpensive. If he wasn't Jesus, if he was a Red Indian or if it was a Negro head, it would be much more expensive. There is a discrimination against Jesus in the sculptures. We were looking through the Bible for a text which I remembered as a schoolboy, but we couldn't find, and it seemed as though we were going to spend days hunting for it. So we bought the Bible dictionary, looked it up, sure enough there it was, and much to our surprise it appears twice in the Bible. Once in Isaiah's and once in Kings.
And nobody believed us. That's why we did it.
And it says very clearly, "Beware of the men who sit on the wall and eat their own dung and drink their own piss." It's very interesting, the part of the Quran which deals with sex, because it says that if a chap mucks around with another chap's wife, they have to be punished very severely. The woman has to be stoned out of the village, the man has to be thrashed and locked up for a long time. And then it goes on to say, but if a bloke mucks about with another bloke, he has to be hit on the head very gently with slippers. When a person dies, everything in their house is auctioned, including the garden forks, and everything gets put into the auction, except pin-up magazines, whether they be pin-up magazines of girls or of boys. They're always destroyed, they're never included in the auction. And we think that's very wrong and very unfair, that that important part of the person's life should be eliminated. So we thought it would be very good to make a special collection to compensate for that.
They are very difficult to find.
Extremely difficult to find.
More different than vases or ordinary books. Yes, much more difficult.
We had a response to one of our advertisements from the country, and it was a rather crackly telephone line from some village. And this very, very charming, elderly country voice said that he'd got a lot of magazines that he wanted to sell. And I said, would he tell me roughly what he had to see whether it was worthwhile coming down to the country to buy them? And he said very simply, I've got 17 copies of Zipper, 39 copies of Man to Man, I've got a whole run of guys in uniform. And so he went on. It was absolutely charming. A person is like their mantelpiece. Their life, you could say. Life itself is a great mantelpiece.
It's very good for meeting people because you can start conversation, showing them different objects, and you know immediately what kind of person they are, their interests. In 5 seconds you know exactly with what kind of person you are dealing with.
We have a very large collection of these very primitive, simple, unique sculptures, really. And they're used in connection with child sacrifice. So the sculpture can be of a fish, or of a crab, or of a fruit. And these are the objects that the people in the village were asking more of from the gods. And they always buried the sculpture together with a child in order to get more of that particular product.
We have one fireplace in the whole house that we kept. We kept original, but we don't like the idea of having to start open fire. We like a very comfortable life. We don't like to do anything except think of art. We don't like cleaning, we don't like cooking, we don't like being involved in buying clothes, nothing. We don't like to be near people because then we will have to compromise.
Do you clean your mantelpiece yourself?
No, we have a
very dear friend.
One of our biggest friends. He became one of our biggest friends, and he has been cleaning our house for the last 13 years, once a week. He's a personal friend of ours.
We first met him when we exhibited at the Whitechapel Art Gallery. He was cleaning the floor in a very scientific and very professional way, not in a casual way.
Like ladies do. It was totally different. We are surrounding ourselves with objects that comfort us in some way and protect us. That's why more objects that we have, more secure that we find ourselves. It's like a fortress for ourselves that nobody can touch us once we are inside here. They relax us and made us feel at home.